So again, I wanted to thank everybody for coming here and welcome everybody as we rededicate the vandalized memorial fountain here. But I also, my main focus was to focus on acknowledging all of the people from all over the community that participated in helping to raise funds and with giving me support to put it back together. They've helped with repair of the fountain. We've installed new security cameras here, which will help out. And we're also focusing on supporting education about the Holocaust with the different schools and so forth. We're supporting the Holocaust, the Stories Project. We're supporting the Alliance for the Study of the Holocaust and Genocide, who sends out different speakers to the different high schools. And we're also supporting Sonoma State University with what they're doing. So I was going to start by telling a little bit about who I am. I'm a second-generation Holocaust survivor. My parents, Emil and Lillian Judd, grew up in Czechoslovakia, and they survived the transformation from a nice, peaceful community into one where the Nazis took over and preached their hatred, and then ultimately surviving the camps. So my background here, getting back to myself, is I'm originally from Los Angeles. I came here in 1986. I like to say I escaped and got to a better place to live. I enjoy it much more better here. My background, my formal education is in environmental health science. And since coming here, I've been involved with waste management projects, set the first commercial composting project in the state, did a bunch of different things, and also done some real estate projects with affordable housing. My parents, Emil and Lillian Judd, again, they were both Holocaust survivors, and they both lived here in Santa Rosa after I moved here. So my mom wrote her memoirs probably when she was in her 70s. She started to write her memoirs. She was woken up in a terrible nightmare, and it came to her that she had to write down what her stories were. And as she did that, she was able to release a lot of the anger that she had and the hatred, and it helped heal her and helped her to become a nicer, sweeter person, which was very special that she could do that. It also allowed her to be able to start to talk and tell her story. And so she started to do that more and more to students, especially throughout here through the North Bay. And I'm sure a lot of you probably heard her tell her story. I worked with her to take her memoirs and turn it into a book, which is From Nightmare to Freedom, Healing After the Holocaust. And there are copies that we have available for everybody on the table before. So if you want one, you can take one. And just if you want to donate something to help further education, you can do that. But that's your call. So the focus of that the mom would always talk about was dealing with your hatred, dealing with your anger before it turns to hatred. She'd tell that to the students. And that's a real important piece that I see especially needed nowadays during the current situation of time that's going on here. So the other thing that Mom wanted was she wanted to have a Holocaust memorial here. She thought it would be so special. And at the time, there was basically this faucet here. That was the fountain. And people would come for Jewish people after they visit the cemetery. It's a custom, a tradition, ritual to come rinse their hands and say prayers as they leave the cemetery. So they leave the death behind. And we have a couple rabbis that can explain that in further detail than I can. We're here today. So I started working on this, putting together a monument. And initially I worked with Leslie Gatman, who's a local ceramic artist. And we came up with the idea of putting tiles together to explain what had happened with the Holocaust, but also to focus on listing all of my family members that were impacted, either murdered during the Holocaust or survived. And I felt it was important to give their names and their ages, because basically it was only 6 million Jews died, and everybody was lumped into this 6 million group. There was no individuality, and I wanted to have that. I thought this would be good to explain that it's not just 6 million Jews, it's each one was an individual. And it's real important to appreciate that and understand that, and to realize that that's what happens when we have other atrocities happening also. So in any case, I worked with her. We listed the neighbors, my family members. We put prayers up. And I also felt that we needed to set up something with additional walls so that we could have room for other members of the community to list their family members. So I want to thank Chip and Carol Swanson who helped me in designing the walls. And so we got those up, and now, as you can see, both walls are filled, which is very special. So basically, everything was going really good. This was about 2017. Sadly, it was a year after my mom passed away, so she never saw the wall up, but she did see the mosaic in Leslie's garage. It was finished before she passed away. So, let's turn the page. Okay, so in 2020, I received a phone call from Rabbi Miller, who was the rabbi of Bethany at the time. It was very disturbing. He was really upset. He was calling me up to let me know that the fountain had been pushed over. Someone had come in and vandalized it. And so I didn't know what to. I went and I made some calls to try to figure out what's going on, and we basically got an article put together. Getting my pages mixed up. 1 second, sorry. Okay. So in 2020, I received a call from Rabbi Miller, and as I spoke to different people, the concern was they were shocked that it happened, but there's a lot of questions being thrown out at me. Well, how do you know it was an anti-Semitic hate crime, or it could have just been, just a bunch of guys that got drunk and knocked it over? They were not intentional, that it was anything to do with the Jewish religion or anything with us. And that question was raised. It was also raised by the police department. There wasn't real much interest. There was no witnesses. We couldn't prove one way or the other who did it. And the reality was it really didn't matter who did it. The fact was that it was done, and it was here at our Holocaust Memorial. And this has become a very special place for the Jewish community, and now for other people in other communities. So it's been very important. And I got contacted by the press Democrat, Yosef Baid at the time, and he interviewed me and asked me about what I thought, and I told him I was upset about it. But I thought that there would be an opportunity for the community to maybe help me out with raising funds to bring it back together. He wrote a really exceptional article, and he called me up the next day and he said he's getting a bunch of calls from people in the community. They're very upset about what happened, and they want to show their support. And basically, I then just set up a GoFundMe page. I've never done that before, but we raised about $12,000 within about a week and a half. And we were able to not replace the fountain, but we decided to repair it and use a blue grout. And that's what we put together. In any case, we had a rededication later in 2020, and that was during COVID time. So we had about 6 speakers from religious leaders, and really it wasn't open to the public. So that was special. We had the media here, and it was rededicated. It was really good, and I was very happy about it. And then it was over. Then, in January of 2022, I got another call. The fountain had been re-vandalized again. But this time it was even busted up in more pieces. And this time when I called the Santa Rosa Police Department about it, they responded to it as if it was an anti-Semitic hate crime. They even offered a reward to try to get information. So it was a big, beautiful transformation that I saw. The press Democrat came and interviewed me again. And again, the media went out, and again, I basically looked at this, it was bad that it happened, but it's an opportunity for the community to come together. And that's exactly what happened, is the community came together, and it was a diverse community, and that's what I want to really emphasize here. It was people of all ages, genders, religions, nationalities, political affiliations, philosophies, income levels. It didn't matter. People from all around came together. And for me, that showed that there's probably more that unites us than what divides us, which seems to be what the focus is of social media now and the media to show that we're all individuals, separate, and we hate each other. I didn't see that happening. Thank God that that's not what happened. So we repaired the fountain. This time we did an even better job. We used a red grout to show there's blue grout and red grout, and it all interlines together. It doesn't matter what side of the covers you're on. So we put that together. We put it more security, and I have to thank John Morton over here of the cemetery. The cemetery people, the staff, they really came out and have done a lot of work and a lot of caring to help us put this together. So without them, it couldn't have been done. So while all this was happening, I also prepared a document called United for Peace, which I have copies in the back. I'm hoping that might be able to be used as a guideline for people to come together and just focus on what brings us together more so than what separates us. So that's available if you want that. And at this point in time, I wanted to call some of the community leaders to come and give a talk.
Shalom everyone, it's good to be here. I'm Rabbi Ron Koas from Congregation Bet Ami in Santa Rosa. I came here 3 weeks ago from the East Coast. After many years serving communities over there, I came here. And the first Shabbat that I was here, Dennis came to me and he was kind of, Rabbi, can I talk to you? And I said, of course you can. Everyone can, right? And he said, let me tell you that we are going to rededicate a fountain in a cemetery for Holocaust. And I'm like, can you tell me a little bit more? He said, do you have time? Of course, let's sit. And we sat and he gave me a couple of papers with a date, with a time, with everything, with the programs. I was sure that so many people are going to come and be here. And he said, Rabbi, would you like to speak? And I said, of course. And can you share something about the Holocaust? And I said, yes, I can. A week later, Richard Kahn told me, Rabbi, let's do a tour. Where do you want to go? I said, I want to go to the cemeteries. I want to be familiar with the cemeteries, but I really want to see what Danny spoke about because I need to know ahead of time what's going on. And we came here and I said, this is really a beautiful monument to the Holocaust. Not just people who died in the Holocaust, but also to the Holocaust survivors and their families and everyone else, Jews and non-Jews alike. And when he told me the story about the broken fountain, later on, I don't know who did it, and as Danny said, it doesn't really matter who did it. But there is something hateful over here, and it doesn't need to be anti-Semitic event. Just, even if some people, just young kids, just came here to destroy it, it doesn't matter. We shouldn't have hate in our lives, and as Rabbi Finley said, we should focus on love. It's important to know that when you say 6 million people, or other people that say that 6 million people perished in the Holocaust, is that an accurate number? And the answer is definitely not, because if you think about it, these 6 million people could have kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, so we are talking about millions of people that the Nazis killed coming to the position by democratic elections. In 1933, Hitler went to power. In 1938, we know what we had there, Kristallnacht. Did the Jews leave? No, because nobody had an idea that something like this is going to happen. serving communities here and coming from education, I was a teacher in the Israeli school system, teaching middle school and high school. And we took 11 graders to the March of the Living. In these buses, and by the way, in Israel, people come from all over, right? They come from Arab countries, they came from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, America, Canada, Australia. People came from all over to build, from 78 countries, and they build a beautiful country there. But the Holocaust is so important within the Israeli education system. So every year, Israeli kids, when they are 11th graders, they go to the camps, they go to the ghettos, they go and they visit everywhere over there, and then they go even to the Czech Republic, to the Tatra Mountains. Nobody was thinking about it in 1938, but it happened. 39, the war started, right? And we know the trains, we know everything. But we always went to these camps with survivors. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any more survivors. What we have is, we have memories and we have stories, but we don't have survivors. So one of the survivors that was with us was asked by a child, a teenager, "You said that you were hungry. Why didn't you eat the grass?" And he looked at him and he said, "The grass that you see here wasn't there. Just imagine that in the winter, in the snow, thousands of people are standing here hungry, and there is no grass even in the summertime because of so many people and so many interactions." And he started crying. And we all cried with him together. And our kids here, they also go to the March of the Living, and it is important to remember and to remind us the slogan. Now it's a slogan, but it should be a reality. Never again. Never again, meaning that not to the Jewish community and to the non-Jewish community, to anyone, hate shouldn't exist, and love should win. And this is my prayer to all of us, is that we should focus on love between each other. We should focus on peace within each other, and we should see how can we educate the next generation not to ask, did it really happen, but to say, never again. And let's remember these two words, never again. And to you, Dennis, I can't thank you enough for bringing awareness to this community and actually to all people all over. So thank you so much for doing this, and I think that all of us should contribute and bring and donate and do and make awareness, make people be more aware about the Holocaust and the continuation of what we see now. You know, if it's neo-Nazism or just hate, we should basically eliminate every evil from the world, and again, never again.
Recognize some dear friends. I see Dr. Michael Harris here, quarterback in our initiatives for fighting anti-Semitism. Thank you. And Barbara, one of the first people that introduced me into the crowd when I came in here 10 years ago. Nice to see you again. And Frederica, the mother of a bride that I officiated the wedding about 6 or 7 years ago, something like that. And the new rabbi, Beth Miran, welcome. And I know I'm probably, oh, and my new friend over here, minister. Sure. Pastor? Reverend?
You're getting even closer.
Okay, good. Yeah, we had a coffee before I left for Israel, and I think we fell in love. Is that right?
It was good for me too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I was honored to receive the invitation to speak here today. So my words. So I want to thank Dennis Judd and those many others for their dedication in helping further the cause of remembrance and further solid the education of Holocaust and genocide studies. This repair and rededication of this Holocaust memorial fountain could not have been accomplished without your understanding and generosity of time and commitment and passion and, of course, resources. A sacred place such as this is meant to bring people together, not separate us. Whether the vandalism was simply reckless and senseless damage and defacement, or indeed an intended act of anti-Semitism, it's still presently not known. But in either case, as Dennis had mentioned, people from different generations, perspectives, and circles are meant to feel through the universal human spirit united in such a place where the living bring honor to the deceased, and in this case to those who fell victim to the most horrific human atrocity in our known history, the Holocaust, which brought about the genocide of 6 million Jews and, of course, millions of others as well. It is the Jews and our friends of the Jewish people who have come to support not just the efforts brought forth today, but who have come together, brothers and sisters in arms, the arms that lock together in love, to diminish anti-Semitism, racism, and all forms of hatred and violence. It begins with biased, seemingly innocent stereotyping, non-inclusive language, and before one knows it, it turns into acts of microaggressions, bullying, insensitive remarks and slurs, and if not nipped in the bud with education, positive role models, better parenting and schooling, then we've got a problem with intentional discrimination, and that comes in the forms of housing, schooling, employment, and of course in the criminal justice system. And in a flash with mob mentality, we've got ourselves a bigger social disease of violent assaults, arson, in this case vandalism and desecration, and even murder, all of whom have roots in fear, the fear of differences. In one of the classes that I teach at Sonoma State entitled The Evolution of Anti-Semitism, out of the 20 or so students who enroll each semester, one of my personal favorite moments is to hear, and it usually is a student who waits to talk to me after class, and so far has always been a non-Jewish student. I wait to hear those words, "I had no idea." I encourage my students to come celebrate Shabbat with my Jewish community in Sonoma, come to Hanukkah, Passover, and of course the High Holy Days, and they have come. They listen, they learn, they sense and feel the tender and caring pulse of our Jewish community and realize that Judaism is about love. Our Hebrew school in the little town of Sonoma opened our doors last year to non-Jewish students at no cost. Our first students, a first and second grader, sisters and daughters of a dear friend and a minister in town, are an absolute welcome and charming addition to our school. I kid you not, I'm quite sure that our Jewish kids forgot by Hanukkah that our new students were not Jewish. It's amazing what our little ones can teach us. These two little girls, Parker and Brooklyn, they took so much joy in playing a part in the Purim spiel as palace guards. I thought of them years from now being the guardians of the rights of their Jewish friends on the college campus. They will not remain silent, I'm sure. Should they witness firsthand words and acts of anti-Semitism, they will not stand idly by. And this is how we can deal with hate and anger. is the battle of the here and now and the battle of years from now. And for this first and second grader, I feel like I want to thank the Center for the Study of Holocaust and Genocide at Sonoma State for the work they do, and my deep gratitude as well goes to the Judd Family Fellowship. The study of genocide and persecution stories, you are making a difference. We're all making a difference. Can you hear what's sown? May it be God's will, we pray, that the sword of the violent be broken. The words of the vicious go mute, and that we might witness God of justice, Lord of righteousness, time for all people, united in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for your words and your kind invitation to be here this afternoon, and good afternoon to you all. Hakuyan tampagara each raro matoinas no guman hanali manani magara fue peruenos ratuyan tampa mato hostiro usush matomonikase. My name is Miguel Hilario, and I come from the Eastern Amazonia of Peru, and this afternoon I want to share with you some reflections. It's what I just said in my native language. Can you hear me okay there? Can you hear me okay? All right. You're probably wondering, why is this Amazonian dude from the Amazon rainforest coming to speak at this special ceremony? Before I came to the States, Sonoma State actually, to study political economy, I first studied theology in Lima, Peru. So I studied biblical Hebrew for 2 years. And then in my later years, when I was here, in my Stanford years, I was attending faithfully for almost 8 years Shabbat services at Hillel Center at Stanford. And then through my international lecturing tour, I ended up in Jerusalem. I was invited to speak at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem at a conference taking place, exactly about the genocide of Jewish people and how some countries in Latin America were able to receive them. I explained about the genocide of indigenous people, my people in Peru, El Salvador and Guatemala and other countries as well. And then a month ago, I had the privilege and honor to meet my brother and friend Dennis, and we talk about the work he's doing here. And he kindly invited me to come to share with you a couple of reflections. Number one, I want to share with you about the capacity that all of us have to learn and to embrace if you want to. Secondly, we also have the capacity to actually apply, if we want to, some of the values that we have been discussing this afternoon. First of all, I want to quickly mention about the word forgiveness. In my tribal language, we don't have the word forgiveness. My people, the Shipibo Cornivos, which is around 30,000 people, and more than 200 indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest of Peru, we don't have the word forgiveness. That is before the arrival of the concept of Adonai, of the Elohim, and Yeshua. We just use the tit for tat methodology. You kill my brother, we'll kill you twice. Until we embrace the somewhat foreign notion of forgiveness, in Spanish, perdonar. My people, including myself, embrace that concept of forgiveness. Even though we may have linguistic limitations to fully understand and to use the word forgiveness, we embraced it. We know what happened to my people, just like your people. What happened is that when we have the willingness and the openness to embrace the concept of forgiveness, we not only embrace it conceptually, but we embrace it in our spirit in order to understand, in order to embrace and actually practice the concept of forgiveness. Not just theologically, but on a daily basis. So that's the first potential capacity that all of us have, as you all know very well. And secondly, we also have the capacity to not just to embrace or to understand conceptually or theologically, but all of us have the capacity to apply that actually. In this age of hatred, in this age of xenophobia and ideological bipolarity, it's really hard to even talk about some of the differences that we may have religiously, theologically, or politically. But I think that if we decide on a daily basis that I'm going to embrace my brothers and sisters, no matter what he or she feels, or whatever he or she believes, I'm going to be able to tolerate that. I'm going to be able to say, hey, look, I hear you, I just disagree with you, but I embrace you as a person. I think that capacity that all of us have, we have to practice it every day. And it's really hard. It's really hard to practice forgiveness. It's really hard to practice the spirit of serving everybody, but also the spirit of forgiving. To finish up, I just want to call upon all of us that as we commemorate, as we rededicate this fountain, that we may remember that while there's hatred, while there's envy, while there's xenophobia, racism, we can still choose every day to do good, because we all have that capacity. Let's go with the opposite spirit. When there's war, when there's xenophobia, when there's racism, let's go with the opposite spirit of loving, as we heard the first speaker. Let's love, let's forgive, and let's serve. May Adonai Elohim bless you all. Shalom.
So I am the dean of the brand new 1-month-old College of Humanities, Social Sciences, and the Arts at Sonoma State. And I also have the privilege of being the sort of overseeing and supervising the Center for the Study of Holocaust and Genocide. I guess I want to start by saying, as a Jewish person whose son became a bar mitzvah at B'nai Israel in Petaluma, being here today is particularly meaningful to me, especially when I think about my son's great-grandparents. My mother-in-law's father's family did not survive the Holocaust. They were all killed. Her father only survived because... Make it happen. Okay. Her father only survived because he immigrated to Mexico at the age of 19 from Poland in the early 1930s. So I share this just as a way to contextualize that I'm personally honored to be included in this really important rededication of the treasured Holocaust Memorial Fountain. Today represents not only the resiliency of a community that has come together, but also reflects Dennis's unwavering commitment to building alliances around shared values and his generosity of spirit. Dennis has managed not once, but twice to turn a sad and tragic event, the vandalism of this beloved fountain, into an opportunity to build community in a time of great division. To be here among our spiritual and civic leaders in Sonoma County, I'm proud to represent Sonoma State as another committed and engaged partner in building stronger and better community where we all belong. A community that seeks commonality and respects differences. A community where we support those in need and give where we can. And now more than ever, we must, as community partners and leaders, work together with intentionality and purposefully to reject hatred, prejudice, and racism in all forms. We are at our best, as we've heard all of the other speakers say, when we're working together, supporting each other with compassion, empathy, and courage. So as we're all aware, higher education is at a point of reckoning right now. And Sonoma State in particular has faced a set of extreme challenges over the past couple of years. What happened on our campus and campuses across the nation in the spring has been heartbreaking, I think, to certainly myself and to everybody here. But following Dennis's footsteps, I too believe that opportunity can be born out of crisis. It is now incumbent upon us in higher education, and there's many of us in this space right now, to take a hard look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what is the actual purpose of the university? And as educators and servants of the state, what are our responsibilities? Here's what I think. I think our job is to mentor, nurture, and educate the next generation of leaders who can think critically and form their own opinions based on facts, not fiction, who can ask complex questions and are able to get to information that they need in order to answer these questions. Our students should be able to construct sound arguments and to support their opinions, while at the same time be able to have the skills to be active listeners and open to differing opinions. They should be able to learn from engaging in conversation with people who do not share their views. Simply said, they must be able to function in a world where diverse opinions and perspectives exist. Our job is to teach them and to model for them how to engage in these difficult conversations and how to find consensus around shared values. Our job is to teach them to think independently, to evaluate information, to find solutions based on the information at hand, and to build bridges and connections. Students must leave the institution understanding that the world is not black and white. It is filled with vibrant color as well as gradient shades of gray. This is my vision for education, and I know I share it with many of you here. It also is the vision that aligns with our mission and values at Sonoma State. And one of the reasons that Dennis and I are such good friends is because I know it aligns with his vision as well and his values. I want to take this opportunity to also thank both Dennis and Anna personally and on behalf of Sonoma State for their generosity in supporting student research financially in the form of fellowships around the issues of genocide and Holocaust, because knowledge is power. So as I wrap up my comments, I just want to re-emphasize that as community, we can and should all play a role in educating our future leaders. As community, we can and should all play a role in ensuring we are always striving for stronger and better. As your community partner, I offer San Francisco... Sorry, made it to the end. As your community partner, I offer Sonoma State as one space where we can engage in dialogue, learn from one another, promote the values of tolerance, compassion, empathy, and kindness, and set an example for our emerging leaders. It is our responsibility as community leaders to work together to lead. And if I know Dennis, he won't let us rest until we fulfill these responsibilities. Again, I'm honored to be here, and thank you.
Lillian Judd, I'd never met Emil. And as Dennis said, my dad grew up very close to Lillian, about 10 miles away. And we got them together a few times, and it was fascinating and great to see the stories. So what I wanted to say is, I really appreciated with Dennis's vision for this memorial and the wall. There wasn't just about the Judd family. There's 32 other families represented here. Peter's family, Julie Chazen, who lives a few blocks away, and who else is here that's families listed on the wall? Anybody? No? Yeah, a few. So my dad was one of the youngest to survive Auschwitz and Buchenwald. He went in. He was there right after his bar mitzvah, but before he got his tonsils out, so when he was 13. I'm not going to talk about him today. I want to say something about my grandfather, who is listed on our plaque. I think when we talk, his name's Daniel Schwartz, and Zikrona Levracha. I would say, when we think about survivors or people who perished in the Holocaust, we tend to think of two groups. One are the folks that got out before the worst of the Holocaust. They avoided it. They were able to come, one way or another, go to another country, or maybe were hidden. Others who were folks who went to a camp, maybe they were killed there, or maybe they got out and later moved to the United States, Israel, wherever it might be. My grandfather represents a third group. So he actually came here as a young man, about 17, and lived in the United States for about 10 years. And 10 years later, just before World War I started, he went back to Karpati, where he grew up, and then was ironically drafted by the Austro-Hungarians. He was in their army, he lost a finger for them, and later was killed at Auschwitz. But when we think about the United States as a golden door that welcomes immigrants and a land of opportunity, I just want to remind us that wasn't the case for everybody. And it's been a mystery. I've been able to learn more about what might have led my grandfather to move back to Europe. 2001, my dad and my family, we went to the home where my dad grew up, and and the town where my grandfather lived, and it was a powerful trip. The part I want to say something about is just that my dad had known, and he thought we're still alive and connecting with those folks, Christian folks, and that was the choice he made. He wanted to focus on the people who are living and thank them and connect with some of those folks. He did later go back and fix those stones. That's what I wanted to say. I really appreciate all of this and you being here, and Dennis, thanks.
Thank you, Steve.
And as I kind of reflected about coming and meeting with the group this morning about what I think are some of the biggest things in my role as chief of police, to be able to support some of our stronger relationships, but most importantly, to be able to eradicate criminal hate crimes in the streets of Santa Rosa. And one of those, I think, is this relationship policing. And relationship policing, to me, is getting our officers to understand our community and get out of their patrol cars, to go to community events and to be able to build some of the relationships in that community, and therefore, get education and build some of those stronger ties. And we've been able to do that. And some of the things we've been able to do is we partner with Rabbi Gittleman, and we're able to focus on, and after this act of vandalism that we had here, we brought together the congregation of all of our synagogues here in Santa Rosa and came together, and we held a little special session on addressing hate crime. We partnered with the Anti-Defamation League, and I was able to go there, but it was so educational to me to hear some of the concerns and the fear in the community that were even stronger than I understood. And it helped us be able to bring that and talk to our agencies and to our officers and make sure that they understand that. Then another real reality for all of our congregations here in Santa Rosa is active attackers and active shooters. And so we're able again to partner with Congregation Shamrei Torah, and we went there at that congregation and we were able to do a special session and had some of our subject matter experts come in and talk about how to be prepared for threats on your synagogues and across the city of Santa Rosa. And again, that was such a powerful time, and we were really blessed. Earlier this year, we were able to go to a special ceremony at Congregation Beth Ami and be able to sit there for one of the services there, and we were able to have lunch there with the congregation after. And again, we brought a team of our officers, and again, it was such a great way for us to build some relationships, learn more about special members here in our community, and that's something that I want to continue to do with our organization as we move forward. The number two one for me is prioritization, and that says how you prioritize when we have hate crimes in our community. And we've seen, and sometimes in the years, we haven't always done as good of a job as we could with that in the city of Santa Rosa. That's one thing that we're really working, and that prioritization starts at the top. That starts with me as the chief, putting that message out from our dispatcher who's taking the 911 call, to the officers who are responding, to the detectives who are doing the investigative work, that we prioritize that and we put resources into seeing what occurred and be able to ultimately find out who is responsible for that and hold them accountable. Another thing with that prioritization is training, and it's so much for officers who get literally hundreds of hours of trainings mandated by the state every year, but we're really start working about them understanding what are some of the things going on in our community, what are some of the legal changes with hate crimes, and how can they take action when they can. And that education and that training is so important for them to make sure they understand that. The third is my role as chief of police is make sure there's accountability. So if someone commits a criminal act in the streets of Santa Rosa, that they're accountable for those actions, and that we send a very clear message that we will not tolerate that behavior in the city of Santa Rosa. And that's something that's really important to me, and I'm going to continue to make sure we prioritize it. But at the end of the day, I'm just so happy and blessed to be bringing to such a special day. Lieutenant Harry and I are sitting in the back just soaking this in, and it's important for us to learn this, to hear this, and so we really appreciate that. And again, I would really want to be open and building those relationships. I have my cards with me here. If anyone has questions about the police department, things that we could be doing, please reach out to me, let me know. He has my personal email on there for the department. You can reach out to me if there's an incident of hate that occurs here in our city that I'm not aware of. Please make sure you report that to me, and I'll make sure the resources of the Santa Rosa Police Department make it a priority. But thanks so much again for this honor of coming here today. I appreciate it.
John is the person that helped me put it all together, but he's shy, so I can't embarrass him yet. But we unveiled this new monument.
This plaque stands as a testament to the unwavering spirit of the Sonoma County community.
Put the mic up, please.
Getting feedback. A tribute to the exceptional individuals who united not once, but twice to restore the sanctity of this cherished Holocaust memorial fountain after it fell victim to vandalism. With deep gratitude, we recall the extraordinary outpouring of support and compassion that emerged on both occasions as we diligently worked to mend the fountain. We made a deliberate choice to preserve the veins of blue, tracing the fissures from the initial act of vandalism, and the veins of red, marking the second incident. These enduring marks serve as a poignant reminder of the imperfect world we inhabit, the potential for healing when we stand united. We have the power to either fracture our world or nurture its restoration. Let us choose wisely. As these red and blue lines intertwine, so do we, distinct yet unified. Our heartfelt thanks extend to people of all ages, genders, races, religions, nationalities, political affiliations, philosophies, and income levels who rallied together to support the restoration efforts, educate about the Holocaust, and take a resolute stand against hatred. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together.